Okay, looks like we're live. Just give me 2 seconds. Yeah, all right. Hi, everyone. This is Reshma here, Reshma Krishnamurthy from Mums and Stories. And as many of you might be aware, we are a platform for mothers and for children. And we primarily do stories, we feature stories on moms, and we have various other initiatives. We used to do a lot of offline events. Now we moved online since March 2020, in fact April 2020, and we've been having a lot of online events. And this is part of that series actually. So today it brings us to a very important topic about simple strategies to prevent child sexual abuse. And I have Anuja Amin, who is a child sexual educator, who's a child sexual survivor herself. And it takes a lot of courage, I think, to first of all speak about it, and secondly, discuss about it in various forms, various platforms. So, hi, Anuja. Welcome to Mums and
Hello.
Stories.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So, Anuja, how did you begin with Circles of Safety?
Well, I was studying in London at the London School of Economics, pursuing my master's. And then, after doing a few stints in Europe, I realized that what I'm truly passionate about is, preventing child sexual abuse. And at that point, when I decided to return to India, did a lot of research. I came across a study which was published in 2007, where they said that 1 in 2 children in India are sexually abused before they turn 18 years of age, and boys and girls are equally vulnerable. So I thought, wow, this is something I really want to work on. So that's how I started doing research and founded Circles of Safety in 2015. The focus was on and is still on preventing child sexual abuse. We've also realized that children need to be informed at an early age. When you look at the average age when a child is abused, it's around 8 years. And so what happens is these messages need to start early, and parents often put these conversations off for later. And so we thought, also introducing comprehensive sexuality education was also a way to in effect prevent child sexual abuse.
Okay, so you mentioned, a particular age to talk about sexuality, abuse, good touch, bad touch. Is there a particular age, or is it right from the, childhood when the baby starts speaking the first few words?
Yeah, you're right. I think the way I look at it, which a lot of people think I'm crazy when I say this, but you should start giving basic messages ever since the child can start talking. It can be simple things. I'm not asking you to talk about sexuality, like, sex or puberty or reproduction. No, it's very simple messages, like using the right names for body parts, so that the child knows that there is nothing special about it. It's just like anything else. The minute you start passing on your anxiety, they can sense that something is weird about this or something is special. Then that really hinders their growth, and how they will, and the attitudes they will develop later in life. So yes, start talking about it as early as 18 months, 2 years, when you have like diaper changing times, or when you're putting them to sleep, reading a book. These are ways to sort of reinforce that these are private parts. When they're going swimming, say, see, the parts of the body that are covered with a swimsuit are private, so they're out of touch and out of sight for everyone except you, right? So you are the boss of your body. Just simple messages like that. And also the sense about private space. So how the kitchen is a common area where we all cook, and it's a common space, whereas your room, when you're using the loo, the bathroom, these are private times. So this is how you
You
can,
know,
and then,
yeah.
sorry, as the child grows up, you build on this information.
Okay, but when children are younger, like way younger, it's easier to, monitor them. They're always generally there with you. That's how it is, unless you have a nanny or somebody where you send the child. But
Mm.
as they grow older, like maybe 7 years, 8 years of age, you send them out for play. You send them out for 8 or 9 years of age. You send them for birthday parties.
Mm.
Uh, how would you, pass on the message at that time?
Okay, so first I want to comment on the first statement you made, that when the child is younger, you're always monitoring them. See, again, here, parents make the assumption that it is strangers that you need to, keep them away from, keep them safe from. Whereas research shows that 90% of the abuse happens at the hands of somebody the child knows or trusts. So even when the child is really young, you may say, hey, I just need to go buy these groceries. This uncle or the neighbor, can I just drop them to your house for a bit? So these are also, these become our blind spots, because we think these are the trusted adults, and so our child is safe, and then we don't even inquire, how did your time go, did you feel comfortable, etc. These conversations don't happen because it's assumed these are the safe adults, so they can be trusted, right? So what happens is that the child also doesn't learn to tell you if something concerning is happening. So first of all, let's not assume that at that age nothing can happen, because there are n number of cases where at that age even the known adults have abused the child, right? As the child gets older, you said when they're sent for play dates, maybe sleepovers, birthday parties, etc., I think it really helps early on to start having building a communication channel. So sometimes when my child goes out, I always have this conversation when they're back, saying, "Hey, who did you play with? Who were you hanging out with?" But not in a inquiry mode. Like, these are just conversations, just basic about, were they comfortable, how did they spend their time, what would they change about that time when they were outside. So, was there something that made them feel uncomfortable? Even the journey, how did they get there? Did they go alone with a driver? Did somebody pick them up? Things like that. So you are not being like anxious about it. A child should know that these are basic conversations, and this checking in, as I call it, the checking in will happen from time to time, and that is their time that they can talk to you.
Okay. So, what are the simple strategies, or what is it that all parents or whoever elders can do? Probably. In fact, you the other day you were talking about why you shouldn't really categorize as parents. For when it comes to abuse, and since that time, it's been playing on my mind that what else? Who else will take care? So,
Yeah. So, yeah. So I'm not saying that all parents, it's just that I have met a lot of survivors, and I've heard of and read many cases where even a parent has abused the child. So all I'm saying is that when we're giving out any information, when we keep categorizing family and parents as the safe adults, that is not true for many children. So I think we need to be sensitive to that, right? And that's where I came from, that I'd rather use the word safe adults and not parents.
Okay.
So
Okay.
some of the strategies that I would suggest, one thing like we do is, okay, my daughter and me really love reading books. So sometimes, like, even if you're reading a book like Red Riding Hood or Ugly Duckling, then we use those story times to reinforce certain messages. So Red Riding Hood, when she was confronting the wolf and asking these questions like, Grandma, why is your nose so big? Or Grandma, why are your eyes so big? Something was not right. She knew that this is not what it seems like it is, right? So when you have that icky feeling, when you feel weird, when you're confused, you must come and talk to me, right? So you use these platforms, these teachable moments to reaffirm certain messages and values. Also, I often say that when you're all watching TV together, it's been happening a lot in the lockdown also, right? A lot of TV time, etc.
Yes.
You can use times like that. If some episode comes up, some advertisement comes up, then it's a good way to say that, hey, do you think this was appropriate? So to also share what is appropriate, what is not appropriate, also sharing a lot of scenarios. I always tell them, don't talk about bad touch and good touch. That is something that, oh my God, is generally used. But we are assuming
Yes.
that bad touch feels bad, when the news flash
Yeah.
here is, it doesn't always feel bad. You talk to a survivor and they will tell you that it didn't always feel bad. And then when you keep calling it, this is something bad, this is a taboo, it builds this sense of shame and stigma, and the child feels so guilty that they will not be able to talk to you, right? So you use
Okay.
these moments to explain all of this and talk about safe, unsafe, give them examples. If you fall down, I hug you, it's a safe touch, right? You feel good, you feel happy about it. Talk about secrets, talk about surprises. These are some strategies, some things you can share.
Okay. Now, the other day I was watching a video of yours where you're talking about, and I think right in the beginning you did mention one out of two children in the country experience abuse before they turn 18. Now, I used to be thinking, if I speak to women of my age, we've experienced abuse maybe on public spaces, public transport, or elsewhere, or something like that. And I always assumed, this is an assumption, that I thought it is going to end with this generation. So how is it, how do you ensure, and if it's still happening at this alarming rate, how do you ensure children come and talk to you so that you prevent right at the beginning, or it doesn't go further, something like that? How do you ensure that children come and talk to you about it? Because we never spoke. I know that.
Yeah,
We never
yeah.
spoke to our parents about it.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. It has not stopped with our generation. Also, I think what happens here is that it is our attitude. If you just reflect on, why didn't we talk to our parents, that is where the answer lies. If you just end up looking at your own experience of, if something awkward would have happened, would you have gone? Because sometimes they end up saying, shh, don't talk about this. You knew it was a taboo topic because people never maybe answered your questions. Maybe your child is curious and runs up to you and says, hey mama, how are babies made, where do they come from? And what do you say? You say, shh, you will know later when you grow up, or don't talk about these things. When you do that, your child knows that any topic related to sex and sexuality is off the table. The other thing here I want to say is that you know, it's the little things, how you deal with the little things, that will decide if your child comes to talk to you. If I give you a small example, I remember that when I was growing up, and obviously, fathers are very protective in general sometimes of their children, and especially their daughters, and I remember that in school, sometimes I would say that my teacher was scolding us and my teacher hit this boy and whatever. It was very common when somebody is being naughty to get this sort of
Yes.
punishment. And he would say, if somebody ever touches you, if somebody ever hits you, you tell me, I'll, kill them, or I'll do this. And these extreme forms of saying, I will do this, it ends up sometimes scaring the child. And in fact, they end up protecting the person, because they don't want to be the reason for bringing that trouble, especially if it's a family member. So if you look at some of the reasons why children don't tell, sometimes they are threatened. And a very common threat they get is, you have a sibling, if you tell somebody in the family, I'll do the same to your sister, or I'll do the same to your brother. So the child ends up protecting and they don't talk. Second very important reason is, I know when I'm a survivor, and when I was growing up, I didn't have the vocabulary. I didn't have the words. Nobody taught me the names of my genitals, and nobody taught me the names of my body parts, that were supposed to be off limits. And so I couldn't describe what was happening to me. So many times children lack the fundamental vocabulary to describe what is happening to them. They don't even know it is wrong. It took me 20 years to
Mm.
talk to my parents about it, right? So these are some of the common reasons. They know that this is taboo, you shouldn't be talking about it. If it is somebody the child knows, then imagine they feel that I will cause trouble in the family. So sometimes they feel that the parent or the mother is not in a position to do anything about it, if it is a powerful person in the family who has abused the child. So all these things really end up deciding whether your child will talk to you or not. And which is why I firmly say that build communication channels early on. If you start talking about this early on, you are normalizing certain words, you're normalizing certain conversations, and so they will not think it's a big deal to come and talk to you about it. Very important for you to remain calm, very important for you to not react to it as if your world has come to an end. I know it is shocking, it is the worst thing you can imagine, but imagine what the child is going through, right? So it is important for you to not make it about yourself, not make it about the dhabba it has now become about on your family. It is very common that people think that now my child, it's a stigma. So just be calm, let your child talk. Don't ever tell them, why didn't you do anything about it, why did you not say no, why didn't you get away, why didn't you tell me earlier. The child will stop talking about it.
So, I mean, it's not an easy conversation for parents like me, probably, because more and more we speak about it on, in open spaces. I think that's where we'll get used to it. So, what are the tools? Are there books? Are there, very relevant videos, or you read up and approach in a certain way how to talk to children about it? What do you do?
Yes. So, in terms of the resources, there are some lovely books out there. One of them that I just posted about it today, actually, on my page on Instagram. It's at Circles of Safety, circles underscore of underscore safety. It's this week I'm talking about resources that you can use. One of the books that we use, which you can use very early on, right from 2 years, is called Amazing You. Talking about your private parts, and it's by Dr. Gail Saltz. Very simple photos, diagrams, just talking about your private parts, different parts of your body. And then there's another book which says, I'm the boss of my body. right? So my body belongs to me. These are some of the books that you can definitely look to. The other book that I'm talking about, Janine Sanders, she has spoken about safe touch, unsafe touch. She has spoken about early warning signs that, your child, to let them know that, if you feel giddy in your stomach, if you feel like you're getting goosebumps, or you're confused, or you feel like going to the loo, these are certain signs that show that something weird is happening. You're getting an icky feeling, and you must respond to it. You must help them. Another good strategy is help them identify 5 safe adults. Okay, at least one of these adults must be
Okay.
somebody that they don't belong in the family, somebody outside the family, so that in case it's somebody in the family where they're feeling
Outside.
uncomfortable, then they can talk to this other person. Another way, I think, as parents, or strategy is, you have to model the right behavior. Okay, very important. Simple common example: there's a family gathering, or there's an uncle who's come from abroad, and you say, oh, how bacha, come sit in uncle's lap, hug them, you're meeting them after such a long time. Such a common thing, right? What are you telling the child?
Yes.
You are telling them you have no control over what is happening to your body. Somebody
Yes.
older, you are obligated to show respect and show that affection in a physical way. What I'm saying here is, change that. Let the child decide. Yes, you must respect somebody who's come, an elder person, you must acknowledge them. Let the child choose how they want to acknowledge that person. Do they want to touch their feet, if that is acceptable? Do they want to do namaste? Do they want to give a high five? Do they want to give a blow kiss? Let them decide. And then you are showing, if your child is feeling uncomfortable when they are hugging that person, it is the parent, it is the adult, not parent, sorry, it is the adult's responsibility to say that, hey, I think he's not comfortable, or hey, I think maybe you can just give a high five, or give them a tali. So you model that behavior, your child will know that my boundaries are respected, and I can come and talk to this adult who has intervened. These are some very simple strategies, but time and time again, in these little ways, you want to reaffirm, one, about body autonomy, about consent, about respect, about their body boundaries, about their personal space. If they're going to the loo, you don't take photos of your child when, it's very cute. Parents find it very cute taking photos of their bachas when they're 1 and 2 years in just their diapers, and things like that. These are simple ways to say, abuse is not just about, sexual abuse is not just about touch. There's also the non-touch. There is also somebody taking naked photos of you, or showing you pornographic material. So what you are also telling your child is, I will respect this space. So I think a lot of it, Reshma, comes from modeling healthy boundaries. And then your child picks up
That
on
brings
those.
to the. Yes. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, that brings to the question also about online safety. As moms, as parents, as relatives, we are very very tempted to share pictures,
Yes.
and when we do that of children, and when we do that, and then you have children probably in their teens, they're given the phones, they get onto social media accounts, they share their pictures. So two parts over here. How do you address online safety? One, as parents, before they are probably under 14, and later on, as teenagers themselves.
Okay. So I think it's a very valid question. Thank you for bringing it up. Um, have you heard of the boys' locker room episode that happened in Delhi?
Yes,
Right?
yes. The
So
chat. Yes,
essentially, yes, so essentially, this is just for viewers and listeners who may not be familiar with it. Essentially, what happened is that these boys from elite schools of Delhi, what they did was, they had photos and conversations they had about girls in their class, or underage girls, and it was an Instagram and Snapchat conversation where they were really disrespectfully talking about them without these girls knowing about it. They were discussing things about rape. They were discussing, it was very horrifying when you think about it. And often we are quick to judge the children, and I understand that this is unacceptable, this is very concerning behavior, but where do they get it from? What are the messages that they have received that make it seem okay for them to do this? If you think about that, how were the adults that surround them modeling certain behaviors? We have certain sexualized jokes, there are all these forwards that float on WhatsApp, and these children think it's okay. They see how certain interactions at home happen, how certain family members may just have these submissive attitudes, and all of that, and that really feeds into this patriarchy, and also objectifying women. Look at the media, look at the songs today, look at the lyrics today. So these are all the influences where they see that being objectified is okay, and that's how it works. And girls on the other hand end up feeling, have these body image issues and insecurities, etc., right? So first I want to bring that out, that again it brings me to the point that it starts very early. When you talk about online safety, today children have Zoom classes, they have exposure to the internet. It's important to let them know that adults, just like you've already told them, that everyone who says what you think they tell you what they are is not who they are. And it's important for them to know that there's certain information, personal information, that should not be shared online. So again, it's just about having these conversations on an ongoing basis. There are some times when I ask my daughter that, hey, do you know my phone number? And she tells me, and I say, who is it okay to talk to about this phone number? Who will you talk to? Who will you share it with? And so it's important to ask them questions, keep that conversation going. Sometimes when she sees me doing this live conversation, I tell her that it's safe for me to do this because this is the process, etc. I will not do this with an unknown person, etc. So when I talk about my own experiences, when I talk about my own safety rules, it helps her also address what her safety rules should be, right? So I think these are certain ways that you can talk about online safety, also about certain platforms. I'm generally not comfortable with selfies at all, so for me that selfie culture is not there. But for parents, when we do that, I think it's important for them to also know that I don't derive my security and my sense of my self-worth from these selfies. It's very important for us to model as parents that the likes don't define my self-worth. Again, it all comes down to modeling the right behaviors, right? When you talk about children older than 14 years, I really want to recommend two books here for children between 9 to 14 years and 14 years and above. Tarchi is a wonderful organization in India that is doing amazing work with sexuality education, and they're also talking about online safety. Okay, and they have this book called the Blue Book, and they have a book called the Red Book. So I believe the Blue Book is for the older children, Red Book is for the younger children, and they talk about all of this: what is okay, what is not okay. It's okay to be curious. As parents, we think that hamara bacha is like ekdam sant type, saintly, but we've all grown up, we've all been curious. Today they have the internet, they are going to go on certain sites, they are going to look for certain information. And I would not, if you see that they're watching porn or something like that, how you react to that will decide if they come and talk to you. We've all grown up, we all know that we are curious. So why will our child not be curious? They've not come from another planet, no? So they will go through the same growing up process. And so we need to have certain conversations. So if you see your child watching porn, for instance, then instead of saying, how can you do this, this is not okay, I suggest what you should do is say, hey, I understand you're curious. I understand you're curious about your body. I know this is exciting stuff, but I just want you to know what you see here is not real. These are not, they are real people, but this is not really what happens. This is not what intimacy looks like. Talk about consent, talk about respect, talk about that both people in the act, both people have needs, and both people's needs must be respected. So it all comes down to communication.
Anuja, can you please repeat the name of the book? Rashmi is asking. Can you just spell it out or something? Name of the book you
So
just mentioned.
the organization is called Tarshi, Tarshi, and the book is called the Red Book, and the Red Book and the Yellow Book is for parents, which I think is also lovely, and the Blue Book. That's all it's called. The Red Book, Blue Book, the Yellow Book. You can get it on Amazon. I believe that right now, I think they'll start selling it on Amazon from September. I've had a few parents tell me that right now it's not available on Amazon, but from next month onwards, I believe. I'm sure you can write to them also.
Okay. All right. Lastly, before we come to that, what would be your suggestions for a happy childhood? What should it be filled with? Because, sometimes I feel I might be wrong over here. I feel too much of education on sexuality. Is it going to be overwhelming? Is it going to make boys and girls scared about this in life? What is it that you would say on that?
Okay. So thank you so much for that question. I'm glad you brought that up. It depends on my attitude towards it. Am I coming from a place of fear, or am I coming from a place of empowerment? If I'm coming from fear, I will pass on my anxieties. Oh, there are big bad people out there and we need to be safe. No, we're not going to say that. We are going to give them age appropriate information that is developmentally appropriate, that is empowering for them. So when they are curious, you will address that curiosity. Then it is not then it is not anxiety, because a child has come up with the question. If they come up with the question, they're ready for the answer. That's a thumb rule you use, right? We are going to come from a place of empowerment, where we want to build protection skills, we want to build assertiveness. So I'm not saying start every day by saying repeat the body safety rules. No, you will have certain teachable moments. You will probably be taking your dog for a walk, you'll be watching a movie, you'll be listening to a song on radio by Honey Singh where he's talking about certain lyrics, and you will say, hey, how do you feel about that? How do you think as a woman, you as a girl, you feel about this, how you're being portrayed? As a boy, how do you think you look at girls? So these are just conversations. These are not scary messages, right? And then you understand where they are. When you talk about a happy childhood, I'm no parenting expert, but in the context of the conversation we've had, three words come to my mind. Happy childhood for me is about safety, it is about connection, and it is about acceptance. Three things. Safety is the foundation for our higher functioning, right? Even when you look at the Maslow's hierarchy, it's an absolute basic need. So as parents, we need to be vigilant. We don't want to pass on the anxiety. So I'm not going to tell my child, you must identify if something is confusing or unsafe. You must, run away from there. You must say no. You must come back to me. No, that is not what I'm telling them. I have to be vigilant. I need to just make sure I'm giving certain messages, and I have to keep the communication going so they can come back to me. The onus and the responsibility is still mine as a safe adult. Okay. Secondly, what I'm saying when I say about communication is, and connection really is, we spend a lot of time worrying about, is he going to the best school, is he getting the best of clothes, is my child getting good holidays, and all of these things. all that children really want at the end of the day is to spend time with you, to have that connection, to communicate, to be heard. So listen to them. I've had parents cry in the front row when I'm giving a workshop, and when I show them certain videos, they say, he was trying to tell me something, but I was not listening. I was irritated, I was preoccupied, I was making assumptions. So all I'm saying is, take a deep breath and listen calmly, actively, and you will know so much more about what your child is thinking and what he's going through, right? Third thing, finally, is acceptance. We receive so many messages, and children receive so many messages about how they should be, how they should dress, what their figure should be like, everything. Boys, whether they should be macho, who should they not appear weak, should they not cry. Let's just accept our children in their own skin, what they are like, for who they are. And when these things are met, there is more of a chance that they will come and talk to you. It doesn't have to be just about abuse, it can be any concerning behavior, it can be bullying, it can be something that upsets them. And these things will decide if they come and talk to you for larger, bigger issues in their life.
Okay, I have a question over here. Ramya asking, is it okay to tell the girls about morning after pills? Won't it indirectly suggest that they have the permission to get into a physical relationship? I'm assuming she is talking about younger children, or probably when they are in their teens. Probably, you talk about morning pills, or for that matter, condoms to boys, and the even the messaging over there. I've seen that in families. It's okay as long as you're not caught, uh,
Yeah.
you know, stuff like that. So, what do you have to say? Particularly for her question, is it okay to tell the girls about morning after pills? Won't it indirectly suggest they have permission to get into a physical relationship?
Okay, thank you so much for that question, Ramya. So, let me tell you this: in the comprehensive sexuality education curriculum that I've designed, we generally talk about contraception in grade 9, okay, and grade 9 onwards. So, to your question, when is it appropriate? Around that time, right? Grade 9 and upwards is when you can talk about it. Research, solid research shows time and again, talking to your children, informing them about these things doesn't mean that you're giving them, doesn't mean that they will be sexually very active. Actually, because that curiosity is being addressed directly, they research in fact shows that they delay sexual exploration in many many cases. In fact, their research also shows that when they are going to interact, and when they are going to engage themselves in sexual behavior, that they are more likely to also take care and ensure that they use contraceptives. So I'm, first of all, to your question, no, you're not telling them that green signal, you can do anything you want. Remember that it is the parents in the family who will share the belief and the value system. There are parents who believe that abstinence is the way forward, and that is what they will communicate. There are parents who will believe that we should have this conversation. We believe that these are natural curiosities, natural things, but they have these wonderful conversations with the child where they say, if you engage in these sort of sexual behaviors, there are various repercussions. Yes, it also, you can experience pleasure. Please talk about pleasure. You can also, there are other things that can happen, like you can get pregnant, you can have STIs, like infections, right? Sexually transmitted infections, etc. So these are decisions that, do you think you're ready? Do you think you have a job? Do you think you are ready to take these adult responsibilities? And they'll probably say, no, 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 I don't think so. Then you can explore with them what are the other ways that they can show affection, because what you're telling them is showing affection is not wrong, right? You want to have a conversation with them and ask them and discuss with them together what is appropriate ways of showing that affection. Please understand that when you're saying don't do this, and you can't engage in this before marriage, they will not come and talk to you. So I'm not saying that the only way that they will talk to you is by telling them that do it. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying have these healthy discussions. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I think it should do, hopefully. Okay. Thank you so much, Anuja. Has been actually one of the most insightful conversations personally for me, and I'm glad you did it for Mums and Stories. And in fact, your blog, which actually caught my interest. Thank you for taking time, and you are an abundant resource. So, all the very best to you for Circles of Safety and for whatever you're doing for the future.
Thank you so much, Reshma. It's a wonderful platform to connect with all the mothers, and I'm really looking forward to connecting with them. If they have any questions, if there's anything more that you need, please contact me on at Circles of Safety, and we'll be here to answer your questions or any concerns that you may have. Thank you so much for your time, Reshma, and having me here.
Thank you, Anuja. Thank you.